Welcome back, spring! There's so much to do. Hello, fellow plant people. Welcome back if you are returning to my channel. And if you're new, my name is Jen. I go by The Leafy Geek here and also on Instagram. Today's going to be just kind of a low-key voiceover video. I shot some footage this week to kind of encapsulate what my to-do list is looking like this spring. So there are a few items on that to-do list that I'm going to be completing in the next few weeks, but I didn't really think anything merited its own video. So I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what I'm working on to prepare both my house plants and also my garden plants and my garden plans for spring. So it's kind of an all-encompassing to-do list, and I thought I would share it with you. Without further ado, so you can see we still have some snow that needs to melt, but once that does, there's a couple of things I'm going to be doing out here to prep the beds. I'm going to be removing that leaf mulch from the flower bed in the foreground. I'm going to be testing the soil pH and then amending the soil in both beds as needed, just to make sure we've got nutritious soil for the plants that are going to be going in. So this is a view to the left of my patio. This empty rock bed has just been hanging out here. The rocks need to stay, but I have plans for this area and for this trellis. Probably a few planter boxes. And then from the same spot, this is facing the other direction on my patio, to the right side on that fence line. It's a big hill, or a pretty steep slope. So what I'm planning to do is I want to do staggered beds, staggered raised beds, so that I can grow more veggies in my yard. I think that'll be fun. Another thing I'm doing right now is I am collecting these seedling pots or these nursery pots and just kind of amassing them together. And this is for when I up pot my seedlings. I'm going to be able to have individual containers for them. So that'll work out really well, I think. Got to clean these out first. Another thing I want to get done before this season gets fully underway is I want to clean out this storage bin. There's a lot of stuff in here. Some of it's useful, some of it maybe not so useful, but I want to know what I have. I want to take an inventory and clean it all out. So another pre-season task that is already underway is the assembly of this greenhouse unit. This is going to be used as a hardening off station for my seedlings, but right now it's extra shelf space. I've got some more greenhouse parts stored on the lower shelves, but up on these top shelves right now I have my oversized plants. These are my perennial rose bushes, and then my seedlings that have graduated from the smaller start trays. These are the ones that I up potted so far. So pretty lucky to have that space. I think it'll be really useful. And then I also, in addition to this greenhouse, I have a larger greenhouse that's kind of more of a cold frame. I'll show you that in a second. Well, I'll show you what it's going to look like on paper. So this is going to be something that's really useful. I'm going to be able to set outdoors. It's extra space for hardening off seedlings, and then it's also going to be great in case there's a late frost. So that's going to be helpful this time around. So this is what this 4-tier greenhouse looks like. You've seen this before, I'm sure. So probably my favorite early spring task is, you guessed it, continuing to start seeds. So this is my latest batch. I've got some alpine strawberries, I've got a few more tomato varieties, some bee balm, and an African daisy variety that are in the tray and ready to go. So mid-germination, we'll see, usually about a week. That's what I've been averaging for most of these varieties, no matter what they are. It's been pretty nice. These humidity domes, I think, really help. So I'll just be continuing that. Kind of staggered out my seed starting plan, so hopefully by the time I'm starting some of these later varieties, some of these other ones will be going out into the cold frame or the greenhouse. I'm also thinking about expanding a little bit, clearing off this bottom shelf, moving things around, maybe adding some more grow lights down on the very lower shelf, just to give myself some space. And yeah, this is another thing I'm doing too. I am dividing up extra seedlings, so anything I thin out that survives, I'm going to be able to gift to friends and family. So they get repotted, labeled, and then emailed to my local people. But everything is looking really, really good. A lot of the earlier plants, and some of the later plants that I've started even, have their first true leaves. So I did do a first round of thinning. That was an important and kind of heartbreaking step, but it was needed, and things are looking really, really good right now. I always, I test the soil every day to see it's got the right moisture level, and then I'll water as needed. I bottom water all of these, but looking good so far. So I posted this on my Instagram, but I also wanted to share with you, I kind of mapped out everything that I've started to date, and just taking a look, most of these I did follow the instructions on the back as far as start times before your final frost. Some of them I did jump the gun a little bit and started early for one reason or another, and I'm taking copious notes just to see if that's something that's going to pan out just for my zone and my situation or not. So my notes will help me for next year when I continue this seed starting journey into, next year in the future. It's going to be a really cool process. I'm enjoying this so far. Another pre-spring or pre-season chore is my pot inventory. I have pots and planters scattered all over this property, in my apartment, on these stairs leading down into my apartment. All sorts of pots out here, mostly terracotta, it looks like. This wonderful pot has doubled as a end table this whole winter. Who's a good girl? It's you. Pots are everywhere. On my patio. Everywhere. Everywhere. And then I have a stash of my cash pose and other pots and odds and ends in here. This is in my plant room. A lot of these are used for my house plants, but we'll see. I just need to take an inventory and see what I've got. I cannot believe I'm going to show you this, but here we are. This is a project. This is my laundry room, except my appliances don't function. And it's served as a catch-all space since I moved in here. And what I'd like to be able to do is improve the functionality of this and make it more geared to plants and plant care. This was left from the previous tenant. Thanks for that beer crusher, bro. But really what I want to focus on is making this a multifunctional space. I've got a ton of propagation vessels and odds and ends in here that I need to find a home for and clean up. That's the primary goal. All of this stuff, it's driving me a little bonkers, which is why I just shut the door and try and ignore it. But no more. Gotta fix it. Gotta clean it. Like what even? Plastic, glass, and pottery. And I've got a ton of, top dressing and just miscellaneous stuff that just needs to find a home immediately. I needed to get one thing done in this room, and so I started washing propagation vessels. Moving on to houseplants, I've got one more neem treatment to do before I open my windows for the spring and invite pests in. All of them are getting sprayed. One big houseplant project that I'm going to be tackling this spring is checking over all of my Hoya to see if any and which ones need to be repotted. I know that there are a few, specifically this Botanica. There are roots growing out of the bottoms of pots in some cases, and I haven't wanted to repot anything in the winter. So that's going to be a big goal, just to see what needs to get repotted. and what can maybe last another grow season. So like I said, the Botanica, but all of these are kind of at their individual stages. So definitely going to just check through, see what's up, and that it's going to be all of them, even my small ones, I think. Some of these guys do need repots already. Another project I have in mind for my Hoya is I'd really like to compile kind of a plant diary, because a lot of these I've had for, 3 months, 6 months. A lot of them I've had for over a year. So I want to kind of check their growth status. I want to take any notes about their conditions that they're currently in, and just really kind of be thorough in my observations of each of these plants, because I love Hoya and I want my Hoya to do the best they can. I do have Tyler Thrasher's Grow-A-Dam journal that I was intending to use for exactly this purpose. So that is a big project of mine as well. I want to catalog and take notes that of the things that I've learned so far with these amazing, fantastic, interesting plants. I think that's going to be a big goal. But for now, I kind of wanted to show you, like, for example, this is one of my slowest growing Hoya. It did nothing for a very long time. This is my Hoya incrustata. And as you can see, it's got new growth. And I've kind of pinpointed when I noticed it. That doesn't mean that's when it started growing. But intriguingly, it's in one of the darker corners of this room, or it's under artificial light only. So I really just want to take notes, and I want to study these plants and be more intentional and scientific about my approach to growing them. I think that's going to be really important moving forward, especially as I grow this collection. I know, this is such a project. I need to plant my biorb, and I have most of the things that I'm going to be planting in that biorb in this grow box here. I've got this orchid, cryptanthus, I've got a bromeliad right there, I've got a few other things, some moss. So I've got the plants, I just need to get off my butt and actually plant the thing. And I wanted to film it, so I'm trying to figure that out. It's in progress. So this is another corner of my house that I am wanting to revamp a little bit. I have a grow light here. I've had my succulents and cacti overwintering here. They've been doing fairly well, but there's so much space here, and I tend to put out my succulents outside for the summer. They just do better. Bottom line, they do better. So I've been weighing the pros and cons of putting houseplants outdoors after my experience with some of them last year, but these guys I think will be just fine. My cactus garden, I also want to maybe dismantle and figure something else out. I've noticed that this particular cacti has some sort of something, and it looks pretty bad, so I need to get this out ASAP. If you know what this is, please feel free to put this in the comments. I don't know. I haven't really seen any, like, insects on it. It just looks like some sort of something, fungal infection. I'm not sure. But I do think it's time to kind of dismantle these guys. They're looking a little bit haggard. So I would also like to use the pots. Some of these pots are going to, potentially be really good for flowers and such. So outdoor succulent scape. So another spring houseplant chore is going to be to stake some of these begonias. It's a good problem to have. A lot of them have put on a lot of growth since they've been in my care, but they're kind of outgrowing their situation, and because these are cane hybrids or cane begonias, they need something to grow up. So what I have done temporarily to sort of fix the issue for some of these larger ones is I've used knitting needles, but I've got this Velcro garden tape. I've also got some bamboo stakes. These are the 2-foot options. I got the 4-foot options to use on my tomatoes this grow season, but the 2-foot ones will be wonderful for the begonias. I can cut them down if needed for some of the smaller ones. They just really do need that structure, I think. That'll help keep them a little bit contained and happy, and they'll just do better and probably put out more growth. That's all for this week, you guys. I'm hoping to come out with a few shorter videos here and there throughout the course of the next few weeks. I have some ideas. Haven't really had time to film anything specifically around those ideas, but I'm hoping to increase my content a little bit in the coming months, at least a few extra videos here and there. So stay tuned for that. Also, if you like my content, if you like this video, or you've checked out previous videos of mine and you haven't subscribed yet, please feel free, hit that notification button too. That'll be helpful for you to figure out when I post, because I don't have a consistent posting schedule quite yet. I try to post at least one video a week, usually on the weekend, but that's subject to change sometimes. So if you do that, and if you subscribe, I will take that as the ultimate compliment. So thank you. And until next time, enjoy your plants.